Great. So I hope you've had a good opportunity to look around the cPanel and find everything that you can do in it, particularly looking at the file manager, because that's going to become quite important later on. In this video, I'm going to show you a particularly effective way of uploading and downloading files to and from your web space, and that is FTP. FTP stands for File Transfer Protocol, and it's just a nice simple way to upload files to your web space so that you can share them with the world. So I'm just going to scroll down here and look at this Unlock FTP area of the cPanel. That's very important. By default, we at Eco Web Hosting lock FTP. This is a security feature that stops people from accessing your FTP even if they get hold of your password. So I'd strongly recommend keeping your FTP locked. You can unlock for a short amount of time, or if really necessary for a longer amount of time, although I wouldn't recommend that. You can also unlock by a specific IP address. However, unless you know that you have a fixed IP, and if you don't know that, you probably don't, then I wouldn't recommend that because your IP address will likely change and then you won't be able to get into FTP. So I'm going to go for 4 hours for now and then click unlock, and that will enable me to access FTP for the next 4 hours. Now, just beneath that, we've got the FTP details, which show you the username, password, FTP server and FTP server IP. This will allow you to access FTP using any FTP program. Unless you've actually purchased your domain, so here I haven't bought any testdomain.willwork.com, so I'm not going to be able to use this FTP server. So I'd always recommend using the server IP to access unless you've already purchased the domain. So how do you actually access your FTP? You need an FTP program. Now there are lots out there, and if you've used one in particular, then feel free to stick with that. That will work fine with your web hosting and you can use that to upload your files. But if you're not familiar with FTP and you haven't used a program before, I would recommend the browser Firefox and the plugin FireFTP. So first of all, if you haven't used Firefox before, just Google it. It's a great browser in itself. I'm actually a bit more of a fan of Chrome, but Firefox has a lot of powerful plugins, including FireFTP, which I still use. So I'm not going to go through the Firefox download process. It's fairly straightforward. Just go to the main Firefox page, click on the big green button, and then follow the instructions. That will then take you to something that looks like this. So this is our Firefox start page. Once you're in Firefox, just search for FireFTP, and the top result will be the FireFTP add-on. So this is an add-on for Firefox which will allow you to access FTP. And then you can just click the big green Add to Firefox button and again follow the instructions to add that to Firefox. If you do have any particular problems with FireFTP, the support site is just down there and it has a lot of answers to common questions, as well as a walkthrough for beginners. So do spend a bit of time on that if you have problems. Okay, so now I'm going to assume that you've added FireFTP to Firefox, and we're going to add a nice shortcut to the toolbar to allow you to access it nice and easily. So click View, Toolbars, and then Customize. And then you'll get a page that looks something like this. And the important thing that we want is this FireFTP icon there. So just click on that and drag it wherever you want to put it. I'm going to put it up here next to the address bar. So that's your FireFTP shortcut. Then click the big green Exit Customize button. And now you'll have a FireFTP button at the very top there. So click that and that will take you to FireFTP. So this is what it looks like. You've got your local files, that is the files on your computer here. I've got the desktop showing by default. You may have a different folder. And then here is where we're going to see our website files. We're not seeing those yet because we haven't connected to our website. Okay, so let's add the details for our website. If I click here, you can see I've got lots of websites that I've set up. You probably won't have those. You're just going to want to click Create an Account at the very top there. And this is where we can put all of those FTP details that we saw just a few moments ago. So I'm going to just switch back over to Chrome and get those details. So we'll start with the FTP server IP, which is what we're going to use for the FTP server. So we put that in host. So I've just copied it there and pasted it right in. And I would recommend copying and pasting, just that will stop any potential mistyping of things. So now I'm going to put the login as the domain name, so anytestdomain.willwork.com. Make sure you don't have any spaces at the beginning or the end. I'm also going to change the account name to that. It doesn't actually matter, but I'd rather have that as the account name rather than the host IP address, which doesn't mean very much to me. And then finally, we select the password. Again, make sure there's no spaces at the beginning or the end. Paste that in. Click OK. And then click Connect. And with any luck, you'll see something pretty much exactly the same as this. So these are the files and folders on your web space. So you're connected by FTP. Congratulations. We're not quite done yet though. CGI Bean we can ignore for the moment. That's where you keep some script files if you're working with Python or other languages, but they're not covered in this course, so we're not going to pay any attention to CGI Bin at all. The folder that we're interested in is public HTML, and this is the folder that contains all of your website files. So let's take a look. So in your public HTML folder, you should see an index.html file. Index.html is the main page for your website. So that's the page that will show at your web address. Speaking of which, if we just jump back over to Chrome, if you click on the temp web address, so visit website, that will show you your default index page. So that's the content of that file. That's all well and good, but we ideally want to be able to edit that. And indeed we can. And one of the things I like about FireFTP is it allows you to edit files directly on the website without actually having to download them, edit them, and upload them again. And the way to do that is to right-click and click Open. Or you can use Command-O on a Mac or Control-O on a PC. Before we can do that, we need to tell FireFTP what program we want to use to launch our HTML files. And the way I would recommend doing that is clicking this arrow here to download the index.html file to your computer, and then jump over to Finder on a Mac or Windows Explorer on a PC, and then you can just control click on a Mac or right click on a PC and choose the default program to open your HTML files with. So on a Mac, I go all the way down to Other, and then I'm going to choose Text Wrangler as my default program. And there you go. You can see it's opened it up right there in Text Wrangler. And just to show you that now, I can go over to FireFTP, press Command-O, and it does indeed open up in Text Wrangler. So the process for a PC is slightly different, but it's very similar. You right-click and you choose to change the default program to open that up. If you can't manage to get that working, then just download the file to your computer, edit it from there, and then upload when you're done. It's slightly more hassle, but it's not too bad. And finally then, if we want to make a change to this file, all we need to do is type over it. So instead of default index page, I'm going to change this to Rob's index page. And then I'm going to use Command S to save, or you can use File, Save. I can't do that because I've just saved it, so I can't save it again. But now if we jump over to our default index page and refresh, you can see it's updated immediately to Rob's index page. So that's the real power of using the hosting alongside the Complete Web Developer course, is that you can upload your files and work with them right there on your hosting, and then you can share them with your fellow students and of course me, And you're also very welcome to use this web hosting package to start building professional websites for yourself and for others, and for making a bit of money. No other web development course offers you that, and I hope it helps you move along in your web development career. So now that you've got your web hosting all set up, let's get on and learn some HTML.